The French language is the sole official language of 11 African countries, and is a co-official language in another 10. This means that French has official status in nearly half of all African nations. However, the Maghreb countries of North Africa, Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia, do not have French as one of their official languages, even when much of the population can speak it. This sparks the question, why isn't the French language official in North Africa? French presence in Africa began in 1659 with the establishment of the trading post of Saint-Louis in Senegal. The main wave of French imperialism in Africa began in 1830, when the French invaded Algiers following a diplomatic dispute. During the Berlin Conference of 1884 and the subsequent scramble for Africa, France occupied vast swaths of the African continent. From Algeria in the north to the Congo in the south, and from Senegal in the west to Djibouti in the east, France controlled roughly 11.4 million square kilometers of territory in Africa, almost 40% of the continent. It was during this period of imperialism that the French language was established as the language of administration and education across these territories. The French language also proved to be an important lingua franca in Africa. French colonies were not organized along ethnic or linguistic boundaries. Thus, many different ethnic and linguistic communities would find themselves in the same administrative region. To facilitate communication between different tribes and communities, French became a common language. Following the wave of decolonization movements in Africa after the Second World War, the French language was often one of the only unifying factors of these newly independent countries. Thus, in most of the former French territories in Africa, French is widely used in government, education, as a lingua franca, and has official status. A noticeable exception is the fact that the French language does not hold official status in the Maghreb. In Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia, French is spoken by 36%, 33%, and 52% of the population, and is continued to be used as the language of education. Algeria even boasts the third largest number of French speakers in the world. Despite this, French does not hold official status in any of these three countries. One reason for this is the fact that North African nations shared a common language before French was introduced, Arabic. Thus, the appeal of French as a lingua franca was less than it was in sub-Saharan Africa. Also, North African governments, particularly Algeria, have pushed back against French, labeling it the language of the colonizer, and have promoted an agenda of Arabization. This sentiment is shared to an extent in other former French colonies in Africa, but the usefulness of the French language in these countries secures its continued official status. In Algeria, the brutal nature of the French conquest in the 19th century and of the War of Independence in 1954 to 1962 fueled resentment between these two nations, which was also a major factor in the decision to not make French official there. Essentially, it was the degree of usefulness of the French language that determined whether or not French had official status in an African country. In the case of sub-Saharan Africa, French proved to be essential to foster a national identity, while in the Maghreb, French arguably detracted from it. Despite the fact that French is not official in North African nations, French still holds an important position in these nations as a prestige language, and will likely not disappear anytime in the foreseeable future. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to support more videos like this. See you in the next video.